So how long you've been in Los Angeles for? We were talking a little bit before this, but how long you been here for?
I've been in LA for 14 years. I moved out here on a wing and a prayer. I was living in my uncle's beer fermentation shed for a couple of years while I got things straightened out. Lived out of my car for a little while. Did a
The real thing, the real life, the rock and roll lifestyle.
I squatted at Cal Arts for a semester. Made it look like I was a student when I was just really sleeping on campus and attending lectures for free and stuff like that. I tricked some of the staff with the help of some friends that actually did attend into getting an art show in the main gallery.
Get out of town, man. That's wild. Yeah, I've heard this stuff before. I had a buddy that would do that at like UCLA. Similar thing. Is like you just drive up, you make your way.
Yeah, and I sold enough paintings at that show to be able to get my first apartment in LA. So that was how it got started here.
That's insane. Let's break that down, Eric. You were living with your uncle. You said before this, just in a shed, pretty much.
So I was, grew up in Florida and started shooting photos there. That's where I got into skateboarding and stuff. I've been shooting photos of skateboarding for like 24 years. And I was in a very serious relationship that ended and just kind of felt like I needed to start over somewhere else. And I figured I would pursue the dream of working for a skateboard magazine out here in California. So I packed up what I could in a Dodge Neon, strapped my surfboard to the roof, and drove across the country. And then I ended up staying at my uncle's house. Him and his wife were, gracious enough to let me stay in. Like he brewed beer, so I would stay in the beer fermentation shed, and that's where I would sleep on an air mattress for a while until I got on my feet.
Hey, man, that's stuff you remember for the rest of your life, though.
Yeah, and so I met some friends through skateboarding, and one of them was squatting at Cal Arts, kind of doing, and he taught me how to do it. And so I got to basically attend one of the best art schools in the country. It's where all the Pixar animators go, and like it's a magical place. And I was able to like squat there basically and sleep in people's studios and on couches and in my car and just make it work. While I was painting and shooting photos and things like that.
Where did you get that kind of smooth operating from? Did somebody give you the idea? Were you always somebody who's like, you know what, man, if I can't pay for the apple, I gotta get the apple. It's like.
It was my friend Patty. He was doing it. He had been doing it for a while, and I just had to figure something out, and so. It started off with just like, a couple of times staying there instead of sleeping in my car. And
now, what year are we talking, Eric? Because, skateboarding just started to really come into the limelight. But you were in this when it was just guerrilla style for the love, working for a job.
I mean, so I started shooting skate photos when I was like 14. So like the, late 90s. Skateboarding was not at all what it is today. It's crazy where it's gotten. It's amazing.
What skateboarding videos were you watching at? Was that when Big Brother was started by like
thing? Like I had the magazine, Big Brother. I was because of where I grew up in Florida, which is like Tampa Bay. I was a huge fan of Josh Stewart. I looked up to him tremendously, and now he's living in New York doing. Theories brand and that sort of thing. He made the whole Static series. So the first skate video I ever bought was the first video he published called Cigar City, and I bought it off of a rollerblader for $5. And so that's one of the things that got me rolling. And I've always been kind of a bigger dude, so I don't skate as well as the thinner guys, and so. To stay involved with the culture and things, I started shooting photos. So I would just look at skateboard magazines and break down how they lit everything, and and this is back all in the film days too. So it wasn't digital where like you could shoot something and see how it comes out immediately. You had to like know what you were doing ahead of time. You had to plan it. You had to meter everything.
Yeah, that's wild to me. That's wild to me. I'm digital, and it's easy for me to just snap away, and it's crazy to me that you gotta. We take that for granted. I'm a little bit different as a photographer. I'm the guy who's gonna just, you do the thing. I'm gonna shoot away. It varies, but I'm sort of, with you guys. It was like you gotta get one.
You got 37. You got 36 tries to get this right, and you're not going to know if you got it right for a couple days.
So how are you paying for this stuff? Because here's the thing, for people who aren't skateboarders watching this, so maybe Eric can break this down a little bit better for us. But a skateboarder, let's say he wants to get he's gonna pull off a trick somewhere. He needs to call a photographer who's capable of shooting that trick in a way that's gonna get the trick. Because you have to know what to get. You might just get the trees and the squirrel. You miss the whole thing, and so you need to hire a guy. And at that time, you were having to pay for that, all the extra stuff as a photographer, all the film, all that stuff. So they didn't even have that many tries.
Yeah, film developing was a major hindrance, and like, in all honesty, I've never really made money doing this. I've occasionally broken even. But for the most part, it's just a passion. It's just a love, and like I wanted to make a living at it, But I soon found out after coming out here and like talking with the magazines and stuff that there's like 4 guys in the world that make a living doing it, and that's about it. So it's more about just making the thing and putting stuff out into the world. And like I've had a couple of really good breaks. I got to do some stuff with Vans, and Vans was very good to me. I got to skate backyard pools with Tony Alva, which, in skateboarding, Tony Alva's like the originator. He's the first guy to skate a pool, pretty much one of the original Dogtown skaters. And I've skated pools with him a couple of times, like actual backyard pools, hopping fences in Beverly Hills to skate abandoned mansions and stuff. It was amazing.
You gotta tell me you got pictures of that. You gotta have gotten. Yeah, you did. I gotta see that.
An ad with Vans shoes for a while, and Vans took care of me very well. We had a billboard. It's been years now, but there was a Dodgers ad campaign where it's like, "This is my town," and had all these different celebrities and media people like, "This is my town, Dodger Town." And we had one of Tony Alva, and they used my photo of that. It was on the I-10, so I had a Dodgers billboard as well. I'm very love that. I was very proud of that.
That just sounds like a movie, man. To be with Tony Alva in a Beverly Hills jumper, that's like a dream come true for every kid on the planet. You were living that. Just to see like a guy, that's like an animal in nature, just like you were there for that. That was a picture, because you were there for something that wild. That's insane. That's the amazing thing about being a photographer. You do this for the love always. As a matter of fact, find something else that'll pay more bills so that the passion never gets lost. Because a lot of times when you're having a shoot, Lucy and Sally's babies pictures, that starts to get really complicated, and you start to, it's no longer about the passion. It's sometimes when you keep it all about what it started from, you never lose that thing that brought you into it.
Yeah, I've was photographing weddings and baby photos and stuff like that, and it makes you like, you get worn out, and it makes shooting not fun. So now, like for the last 10 years, maybe 11 now, I have my day job at the Los Angeles Public Library. So I get to, which is great because it's an incredibly ethical way to make a living. All I do is help people all day, and have access to the world of information at my fingertips. So like that's how I pay my bills, and then that frees me up to shoot what I want to shoot, and to do like the stand-up comedy photos that I shoot and things like that, where it's like, occasionally I get paid for it, but for the most part, I'm doing it like I'm trying to help out the community. Like I'll meet these struggling comics that are living out of their cars. Like, I don't want to charge them an arm and a leg for my photos. Like, I know that they're worth more than, like, I'll do it donation based. I ask for $100. Sometimes people pay me more, sometimes people pay me less, but it's about creating good things and putting it out into the world. Like, that's what it means to me. Like, it's like a yoga or an ethic or something like that, where it's, all the best yoga classes I've had were donation based. They're not the ones in the expensive studios charging you $50 a visit sort of thing. It's the guys that are doing it anyway, and they're just there if you want help. And so that's me and how I try and approach things. I do it for the love of the game, and I just want to create cool things. I would rather create cool things that I like to do than to bend over backwards to try and make somebody else happy and make something that I'm not too thrilled with.
You heard it there. You heard it there, you guys. That's a very big important thing because people spend a lot of time sort of doing that. If there's anything we can do here, it's just follow. Just find something that'll pay the bills and keep doing your passions. I've been skateboarding for about 20 years now, and when I accepted that I wasn't gonna try to go the pro route thing, especially seeing a lot of the stuff going down with the current pros, there's not a lot of money unless you're in these big companies, Nike, and it's churn and burn with those things. You have like a 2-year lifespan if you even get there, and in 2 years, it's once I accepted that I was gonna just do this as a hobby. I never lost. I stopped doing it for about a couple years, and because I was like, it's a big waste of time. But I also didn't like to run on the treadmill. I like to run and read on the anything but running on the treadmill. I'd have to have a book and read it, just anything but just looking straight and running. And I came back to it, and it was just like, I'm so glad I did, because it's like, this is awesome. Just surfing the ground, great meditation for me. I love to meditate, but if I'm not able to sit sometimes and do that, if I get out there and get a couple of little session in, that's a great meditation. Everybody around me tells me you're not so on edge. You beat yourself up on that thing, and you all for the love of it. You're a skateboarding photographer. I'm a skateboarder. It's all the same thing.
Yeah. So and when I was in Florida, I had a lot of good stuff. Like I lived in the Tampa Bay area, so I was at skate park at Tampa all the time. I shot a lot of the Tampa Am and Pro contests. I got to see Bob Burnquist do the loop switch with my own eyes. I got slides of that under my bed right now.
Oh, dude.
Stuff like that.
What was the craziest?
Nigel Houston win the Am contest when he was still a little kid with dreadlocks.
With the dreadlocks.
Yeah, when he was all, I think he was like 12 years old or whatever when he won that first Am contest.
Insane.
And I moved up to Jacksonville for college. I studied, photography there, and I was doing a lot of stuff with Kona Skate Park, which is very, they've been around for 40 years now.
That's like the first skate park, if I'm not mistaken, right? That is the...
it's the longest running one that's still in operation. There were a couple around before that out here in Cali, but none of them are still around. They're the longest running skate park in the world. And so I got to do a lot of stuff there. That's where I met Alva when he was on a tour. I got to meet him there. And then I came out here, did the Cal Arts thing, got on my feet, and it was with my paintings that I was selling. So then I started a grip tape company called Reality Grip, and I paint historical figures on people's grip, like on sheets of grip, and then sell them to skate shops. And I do it, just above cost. Like I don't really make a big profit at it, but it makes money for the skate shops, and skate shops are the backbone of the community. So that's like another sort of I make enough to cover my expenses, and it's not really draining me. And I still get to we got great people on the team. We got Jimmy Lannon, James Coleman, Andrews Nordlow. I've had Drake Jones ride my grip. I've had Matt Rodriguez, like all these, legends that have ridden my work, and that feels good. It's been all over the world. It's been in Dubai and in France and stuff like that. So
wicked cool. For people that don't really understand, so you paint art onto the grip tape on the skateboard of a character. So people riding, it's a personalized way of riding the skateboard, right? You add a character on the grip. People would know it. People notice it. Oh, you like The Simpsons? I love The Simpsons, or something like that, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, they're all real people. They're all like historical figures. So it's like authors, scientists, civil rights leaders. Things like that, like all people that have shaped our modern reality. I do a series of comedians, and people like James Baldwin, things like that, like Ram Dass, Bruce Lee, things like that. I actually got a cease and desist letter from the Bob Marley family because I was doing a Bob Marley grip, and they're like, yeah, you need to pay us for that. I'm like, I don't even make money doing it. They're like, okay, well, just stop doing it then. All right. Like I had dreadlocks at the time. I was listening to an album. I was listening to Bob Marley when I got the email saying I couldn't do it anymore. That was a shock. I couldn't believe that Bob Marley's people were telling me I couldn't spread the gospel. But
That's weird. You would think. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of knockoff Bob Marley stuff out there, and a guy doing it on Grip. I mean, I've seen.
especially like hand painting it the way that I do, like all right,
Unfortunate,
crazy like that.
unfortunately, sometimes when the families take over, they don't really. It's not that they don't care, but they don't care. They're just like, you pay me type of mafia type of thing, right? They just want to make money off of
And I give more sheets of the grip tape away than I sell, so it's like, it's like I think like I did the math on it. I'm like, I've made $12 off of this. You want it? And they're like, no, don't even worry about it. So
I know that, man, but hey, it's cool that you got that stuff in Dubai, and that's what when that stuff happens, you're like, that's what it's for. That's what all that driving around and how did I make 16 cents off of this? Like, that's where it ends up being worth it. So
it's about the soul, and it's about like what it does for the community, and like, I don't know how many times like little kids will be like, yo, who's that on your grip? Like, oh, that's Fred Hampton. Do you know who Fred Hampton is? And then like that's how they learn, because our schools aren't teaching anybody that sort of thing. Like, we don't know real history of what's going on around here. So if I've got these obscure historical figures and people are skating it, it starts a conversation. Some people can learn from it, and that's what it's all about. I'm trying to help people learn, trying to help people grow, and it's not much, but it's what I can do. So that's what I do.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot about a man and his art. Out here, we got Los Angeles has that legendary artist. You see the logo, Obey. You see Shepard Fairey's Obey logos. Just, I remember I'd be with friends and it'd be like anything. Like, you'd be somewhere on the pole. There's just like a little thing, and that thing alone would have so much information for people to share with, and people who knew. It's insane. So, absolutely.
It started out with street art. Like when I was in Florida, I would do stencils of these people on like electric boxes and things like that. And one of my real proud things with that was I did a Martin Luther King mural, and a couple of days later it was covered in tar. Somebody came and brought hot tar and covered the Martin Luther King mural with it. And at first it really bummed me out, but then later on I'm like, man, I made these rednecks get up in the middle of the night with hot tar to cover up my mural. Like, I ruined their weekend. This is sweet. Like, so even the hate was sort of just like, well, I made them work to hate this guy that's.
You made them feel. Right. It's like they say, any response is a response. People are very quick to assume or judge, especially today. There's a lot of this free speech stuff, but I think we're more opinionated than ever before, to be honest with you. So, which is fine. The more the voice, hey, even with Joe Rogan, it's happening, right? He's saying the solution to all this hatred is just having more opposing views instead of censoring. He's like, let's just have an opposing view right after so that we can counterbalance it. And it's like, I wouldn't say that's not the right decision. I guess that it's always worth giving things a try.
Yeah. I just miss the days when Joe Rogan would have counterbalance stuff. Now it's just like somebody will say something, it's like, oh, that's interesting. And back in the day it was like, oh, let's look that up and see if that's true, and that doesn't happen anymore.
Right. It when you get all that $100 Spotify deal, and then everybody tells you how much information can you really retract when you got that many people on your show, and when it gets into complicated subjects. Like, I think the show was flowing smooth when you could talk about certain things, but with what is currently happening in the world, if you speak on that and it's people's lives, it's really tricky, right? But when things were a little bit calm, you can talk about the making of the movie and the book. But you talk on this thing. What we have going on is this is going to be in the history books. So and you know what? They're probably going to take us off of YouTube if we even talk about it too. So that's awesome, Eric. Now, so what brought you to the Comedy Store, and how'd you end up with?
I've always loved stand-up comedy. I've been a huge fan of it. Like, I've got tattoos of my favorite comedians on my legs, and I had that before. I've been a customer of the Comedy Store since I came to LA, and I had a sort of a bucket list thing where I wanted to do stand-up at their open mic. So I dove in and started doing stand up in 2018, and I got very lucky and started doing. I've gotten it up at the open mic there 3 times. I've done a handful of belly room shows, and then I got really lucky with the Kill Tony show, where I got on, did well my first time, and then the girl who was shooting photos of the Kill Tony podcast wanted to step down and asked if I wanted to do it. So I hopped in and I started doing it, and then so I was there, every Monday shooting the open mics and diving into the open mic scene, and I just developed the style of headshots that I shoot as it was a trial and error process where we were just I was just shooting photos for my friends that needed it, and changing the style, changing the lighting, using the knowledge that I had from my shooting film days on how to there was a class I had in college where we recreated Harrell style Hollywood portraits from like the 20s, the 30s and 40s and stuff like that.
Nice.
And so we would recreate them, and we didn't have Photoshop. We had to do it all in camera and in the darkroom and stuff like that. So I'm kind of behind the times when it comes to technology, especially with photos, and I'm learning. I'm trying to keep up, but I'm still very old school, and I try and do everything in camera. And so we just started doing that, and then I had a buddy that would blow smoke behind the person, and that looked good, so we just kept messing with that. Now I have a smoke machine, and
that's awesome, by the way. I love that. That's why Aliens is still my favorite. Practical effects, other CGI, other Photoshop. I think the eye notices it, the brain notices it. I think you can never beat a guy blowing smoke in the back, and instead of throwing it in post and then lowering opacity and all that other jazz, it's
No, yeah, Aliens is one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't know how many times I've watched it, but yeah, and then to think all of that was done in camera. It's completely mind blowing. And so I started shooting that, and then the second time I got up on Kill Tony, I did really well, and I'm still very proud of that one. That was an episode that had Doug Benson on, and I did really good. If you just YouTube my name, that set will come up. And so I was shooting the show every Monday, and became friends with the band.
That's a huge opportunity, by the way. Yeah,
it was awesome. I loved it so much. Doing that was one of my favorite things. And then Joel Gilbert, the guy who was playing the drums in the band at the time, he skateboards as well. And so I started talking to him, and then talking with some friends, we came up with the idea to do the Women of the Kill Tony Band calendar, like a pinup thing. And it evolved into just doing the characters of the, so we did the 2020 Kill Tony Band calendar, and that was just a huge fun project that we got to do. And
this is the old band.
This is the old band, right? I remember for the LA because they got the new band in Texas now. But this is
this is with Jeremiah Watkins, Chris Dillon, and Jeske Johnson, and
they were awesome. They were
awesome. They were a great band.
Goldberg, and and they're all doing the roast battle band now. So
okay.
So they're still doing it at the Comedy Store. They're still doing their thing.
Nice.
Okay.
I wondered what happened.
I wondered what happened to them because I didn't think they got fired or anything. I just thought they moved to Texas, and then it was okay.
Come to nobody in the band wanted to go to Texas, so they just stayed. That's my understanding of it. But yeah, they're doing they're now the roast battle band, and so they're doing it on Tuesday nights, either in the main room or the belly room. They're doing stuff in between the roast battles, and they're having a blast. But yeah, the Comedy Store is just a magical place, and the energy there is just phenomenal, and I love it. It's my church, basically. Is what I anytime I go to a show, is I'm going to a service. And seeing stand up is one of my favorite things. Bill Hicks was a huge influence on me before I ever got behind the microphone, and that's where he cut his teeth. And so like I had I have a Bill Hicks portrait on my leg, and there was a tribute show to Bill Hicks where they had his family show up, and I got to show his mother, who's like in her 90s, this tattoo of her son on this guy's leg.
What'd she say? Did she have a response? Or?
Her jaw just dropped, and she's like, I don't know what to say to you. And I don't know what to say either, but thanks for making Bill.
Thanks for making Bill. Yep.
Yeah, and like I've talked with Bill Hicks's brother a handful of times. He saw the tattoo online, and so we talk that way.
Comedy Store is a wonderful place, man. It's a lot of great things happen out of there, and there's not too much. There's not a bunch of fireworks and laser beams. It's just people with pretty worked through material, but it's not so unpolished. It's a place where you work and just let it all just happen. It really is a place where you realize that magic, I'll use that word, right? It's a little hokey, but magic happens it's very momentary. That comedy is the funny stuff happens in the moment. It's all, a lot of these things are just in the moment, and you've been there for that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite places in the world, and I got to do stand up in the original room, and when my dad was in town. So my dad got to see me do stand up in the original room of the Comedy Store, and that was like one of my like proudest moments of my entire life. I got to do that, and
nice. How do you feel like you did that day? Were you a little extra nervous?
I did pretty good. I got very, like, luckily for being as new to comedy as I am and stuff like that, the sets were only 3 minutes, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to fill. But I did pretty well. And I'm trying to get back into it. I haven't done much comedy since the pandemic hit. I need to start going to open mics again and getting back into it. I've done a handful of them, but I really need to hit the grindstone again with that because I love it. It feels fantastic. Nothing feels better than like when you throw out a punchline and it does well. Like that's the best feeling in the world. And inversely, like when a joke bombs, it's the worst feeling in the world. But
hey, but that's bravery right there. Going up there and doing that's absolute bravery. And I feel like you can speak on it, but what does it feel like when you fail and then it's like, you're probably like, okay, well, that wasn't so bad. That was pretty bad, but that wasn't so bad. Something in you sort of just public speaking is everybody's biggest fear. I forgot the exact saying, but public speaking is the one thing everybody would do anything but rise to that occasion to do. Nobody wants to public speak. So you going up there and doing that's huge. So you were a guy who was coming to the Comedy Store in Los Angeles, specifically in Hollywood, Sunset Strip. And then you were Sunset Strip, right? And you were coming down there and watching Kill Tony on Mondays. They had a photographer there, and she decided she was going to step down, do something else, and you filled in the role and became the Kill Tony photographer.
Yeah, and I did that for a while. I got to meet Rick Cossack because he was hanging out there every night. He was a photographer for Big Brother magazine and does all the Jackass stuff. And then I've gotten to work with him since then. We did a Orange Amplifiers commercial with Chroma Chris of the Kill Tony band. He had a commercial for Orange Amplifiers, and I got to work with him on that at Evidence Studios, which was awesome, and that was a lot of fun. So now like the guys, like one of the guys that I grew up studying his photos and trying to break down how he did stuff is somebody I talk to now, and that feels pretty rad.
That's rad. That's what happens at the Comedy Store, right? You'll meet Andrew Dice Clay on a good day.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Like one of the nights that I got lucky enough to do the open mic, it was Christmas Eve, and so I did the original room. I did my 3-minute set, and it did well. And I was hanging out, and then Chappelle came and did a drop in later that night. So I got to perform the same stage as Chappelle the same night. So that's just the kind of things that happens there with the magic of that place. And even before it was the Comedy Store, it was a magical place with being Ciro's, the Hollywood nightclub where all the super famous people went, and the mobsters, often people in the kitchen and stuff like that. It's as real as it gets. Like a place is heavy.
You going there?
You going there often these days with everything going on? Have you been able to make it out there?
I've been able to make it out a few times. I need to go out more. Yeah, I just I've been doing a lot of stuff with work and trying to make things work with that. With the library is a very. I'm driving all the way across town now to do the stuff with the library. So
why are you working at the library if it's such a far drive? Why are you going? Is it just good pay? Is it worth you want to be in this environment? I'm always trying to eliminate the commute. Especially out here, the commute is.
It's I'm working at the one it's next to the Santa Monica Courthouse ledges, so there's always skateboarding going on. And I've been working for the city for 10 years, and it's that's where they needed me, so that's where I go. And, it's where my career is at the moment. Like that's what pays the bills, so I can do the stuff that I want to do. And
hey, that's huge, man. That's huge. I bet that you're in the top 8%, especially in Los Angeles out here. Everybody's trying to just find this weird hot sauce, and they end up just asking for nickels outside of the 7-Eleven. So I think you're doing pretty good, man. Yeah. It's a hard place to live out here in Los Angeles. Rent is crazy, buying a house is crazy, whatever people want to do. And it's a rich man's game to do any of this stuff. You want to take photos, you want to shoot movies, you want to be an actor. It's a rich man's game. So, props to you, Eric. Props to you for making it out here from Florida and that wild journey. I've also made that drive. I've done New England to LA, so we kind of did a similar. You did Florida to LA, right? Or you stopped, but you made that journey, and it must be insane to think you are where you are today here and everything you've done.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a trip. I am living the dream. I had more money in the dream, but I'm living it.
Hey man, that's huge. You're still not done. You're still young. You're still living out here. You got a great library. That explains why you got all the books. You're at the library. I'll have to visit you there. I love the library. I grew up going there. My mom would drop me off, and I'd be there for hours, man. That's a great place to just, really just keep it calm and learn stuff. What else you want to do, right? We have so many distractions now with the phone and with everything. We're starting to forget the lost arts of peace and quiet and revelate, just sort of just reflect and consume. And everything's pretty fast nowadays. Real fast food.
The library's keeping up. We're the #1 distributor of digital books and audiobooks. You can get them all for free. Like, people pay for Audible, but we have very similar services for free. And we don't censor anything. Like, you hear about Tennessee banning the comic book mouse. Like, we've got it. Like, we've got we've got everything from everything. Like, anything like that people are trying to ban on either side. Like, we've got Mein Kampf, and we've got books by Ram Dass. Like, we've got everything. So it's one of the last true bastions or pillars of democracy and freedom of speech and information. So, like, go to your local library, learn what they don't want you to know, because it's there. Got the world at your fingertips for free, and so many people just don't use it.
No, we just look at the first thing that's being shown to us, and it's funny that we think just because it's like the first thing, it's like read all about it, that's the thing. But there's a lot of stuff that people need to understand, and history does repeat itself, and there's a lot we can learn. So you heard it from this guy, folks. Go to your local library. I think that's awesome that you have told me that. So you guys have kept up. Libraries have kept up. They do audiobooks there, because sometimes people with the physical copies, it's just, I worked at a newspaper stand, and that's going out of business too. Nobody was buying the magazines, and then it was usually photographers. These things cost $40. You got to really, not a lot of people are allocating for paperback copies, but there's nothing like it.
Yeah, we got the digital books. We got digital audiobooks. We have our VR programs at the library. There's all kinds of stuff and tons, even if you're not into the heavy book reading, we got tons of comic books and things like that. And those are very important culturally. X-Men was a allegory for the civil rights movement. None of this stuff is just isolated. Everything's connected, and everything, you can learn from just about anything if you you know how to look at it.
Yes, yes. Very nice, Eric. Well, let's catch up with you again in the future, Eric. It's been a great pleasure to get you on the show, and I think our audience is going to love this. Remind them how they can find you on your website and all that jazz.
So my website is ericstaniford.com. It's EricStaniford.com. That'll take you there. There's realitygriptape.com. And the most thing that I'm on is Instagram, and that's ESP Eric. Eric Staniford Productions. Eric is what the ESP stands for. So that's where I keep things updated. I'm trying to do some stuff with. I'm trying to get into some video editing and stuff like that. I did a skit with some comedians here recently that's being edited, and I'm hoping that comes out soon. I'm doing more photo shoots with comedians all the time. I got a couple of shoots this month that I'm really looking forward to, of some comedians that I grew up listening to, and people that I'm very, very hyped to be working with. So yeah, if you just follow me on Instagram, that's where the majority of the stuff happens, and where you can keep up with me the best.
All right, so you guys can find him on Instagram. He's got his website, and keep up with him, you guys. You never know what's going to happen, especially the places you're hanging around at. You never know. So follow me, guys, and we'll have to catch up and see what you've been up to, because it's going to be wild.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
All right, everyone. Eric Staniford.